There are moments in life that shake you to your core, the kind of moments that steal your breath, leave you staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night, wondering how you're supposed to keep going. Maybe it was a phone call you never expected, a betrayal that cut deeper than words can describe, a loss that left a hole nothing seems to fill. And when you're standing in the wreckage, the well-meaning words of others, "You'll be okay, you'll get through this," can feel like distant echoes, too shallow to reach the depths of what you're facing. Because what do you do when everything in you wants to give up? When even the thought of getting through the day feels like too much? Here's what I've learned. It's not about feeling strong. It's not about having all the answers. It's about finding just one reason, one tiny flicker of light that keeps you moving forward. Not in giant, life-changing leaps, but in the smallest, quietest ways. Maybe it's dragging yourself out of bed when everything in you says, "Why bother?" Maybe it's taking a single step outside just to remind yourself the world is still turning. Maybe it's whispering, "God, I don't even know if you hear me," but still whispering anyway. These moments may seem small, insignificant even, but they are not. They are proof that you're still in the fight, that something in you refuses to let go. And on the days when you feel like you're failing, like you're stuck in place, remember this: progress isn't measured by speed. It's measured by the fact that you're still here, that you're still trying. And in those moments, especially in those moments, God has not left you. He's not waiting for you to be stronger, better, more put together. He is right there, in the pain, in the questions, in the silence, holding you even when you can't feel it. And his voice, steady and sure, is saying, "You are not alone. I am still here, and I am not letting go." So if all you can do today is take one breath, one step, one small act of defiance against the darkness, do it. Because even the smallest step is still a step forward, and even in this, God is leading you toward something greater than the pain, toward a tomorrow that is waiting to be found. Every day you wake up, you're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to staying stuck, letting fear or exhaustion convince you that moving forward isn't worth the effort. The other path, it isn't about having it all figured out. It isn't about sudden, dramatic change. It's about choosing again and again to take one more step, however small, however uncertain. Progress doesn't come from chasing some impossible standard or overwhelming yourself with grand expectations. It comes from steady, quiet resilience. From learning that darkness isn't something to fear, it's something you can push through. And the more you face it, the less power it holds over you. Because here's the truth: pain is not the enemy. Struggle is not the thing that breaks you. It's the thing that builds you. The moment you stop resenting the battle and start recognizing what it's shaping in you, everything changes. Strength is born in the places where you once felt weak. Faith grows deepest in the moments you thought you had none left. And breakthroughs, the real, life-altering kind, don't come when everything is easy. They come when you refuse to let the struggle define you. God has placed something powerful inside you, a courage that isn't loud or flashy but unshakable. A strength that isn't about never feeling fear, but about facing the unknown anyway. So don't stay trapped in comfort. Don't shrink back because the next step looks unfamiliar. Leap. Take risks that stretch you, that push you toward growth, that allow you to see life not through the lens of fear, but through the lens of faith. Because when you start to see through God's eyes, you stop seeing limits, you start seeing possibilities. Every moment, every challenge, every unexpected turn is not just an obstacle, but an opportunity, a chance to become who He created you to be. So don't live by someone else's expectations. Don't measure yourself by what the world says matters. Set your own path, one built on the foundation of who God says you are. And as you walk forward, be thankful. Thankful for today. Thankful for another chance to rise, to fight, to believe. Because every step you take in faith is a step towards something greater than you can imagine. Pain doesn't wait for an invitation. It shows up in the middle of what seemed like an ordinary day, turning peace into struggle in an instant. And no one is beyond its reach. We like to believe that certain people, those with influence, wealth, or a picture-perfect life, are spared from hardship. But suffering is quiet. It doesn't always look like desperation or disaster. Sometimes it looks like a person who seems fine, someone who's learned to smile while carrying a weight they don't know how to put down. I know what it's like to walk through battles no one sees, to be surrounded by people yet feel alone in the fight. To wonder if faith is supposed to make it easier, if trusting God should mean the pain disappears faster. But faith was never meant to erase hardship. It was meant to carry us through it. There's a strength in being honest about our struggles, in refusing to pretend we're unshaken when we're barely holding on. Too often people suffer in silence, afraid that admitting their pain will make them look weak. But the real weakness isn't in struggling. It's in believing we have to do it alone. If someone breaks a bone, we don't question whether they need care. We don't expect them to hide it, push through, or pretend it isn't there. So why do we hesitate when it comes to the struggles within? Why do we expect people to battle their darkest moments in silence? Healing starts when we stop treating pain like something to be ashamed of, when we stop measuring faith by how well we pretend to have it all together. When we realize that struggle doesn't mean God is distant, it means we need Him even more. Your hardest season is not your final chapter. It will not define you, and it will not break you beyond repair. Here you are, still standing, still breathing. Proof that no storm, no sorrow, no season of struggle has been able to take away what God has placed inside you. Today isn't just another page in your story. It's a turning point, a chance to stop carrying what was never meant to stay, to silence the lies that told you you're not enough, and to step into the life you were created for. This is your moment to be bold, to speak what's been buried in your heart, to release the weight that has held you back for too long. The strength you've been searching for has been in you all along, not because of who you are, but because of who He is in you. You are not powerless. You are not lost. You are not without purpose. Every sunrise is God's quiet way of saying, I'm not finished with you yet. Every challenge is not just an obstacle. It's a chance to grow, to learn, to step further into the person He's shaping you to be. And every joy, no matter how small, is a reminder that light still breaks through, that hope is never out of reach. There was a time when I wanted to stop, not just slow down, stop completely. Life kept throwing more than I could carry, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see a way forward. I wanted to breathe without pressure, to exist without the constant feeling that I was failing, that I was stuck in a struggle I'd never overcome. But in the middle of that exhaustion, when my own strength had run out, I found something unexpected. God wasn't standing at a distance waiting for me to get it together. He was right there, steady in the silence, present in the weight I thought would break me. And as much as I wanted to walk away from the fight, I knew deep down that I couldn't walk away from Him. So I faced what I feared. I stopped running from the weight of my own doubts, my own pain, and slowly, what once felt like an endless battle became something else entirely. It became the place where I learned what real strength is, not the kind that comes from pushing through on my own, but the kind that comes from surrender, the kind that says, God, I can't do this without you. And as I moved forward step by step, I saw the truth. I hadn't been abandoned. I hadn't been defeated. I had been transformed. The struggle wasn't a sign that I was losing. It was the place where God was rebuilding me, shaping me, making me stronger than before. So now, I don't look back with regret. I don't ask why I had to go through it. I ask what God is doing in me now. I ask how He's using this moment, this day, to build something greater. Because the past doesn't define me. The struggle didn't destroy me. And today I choose faith over fear, purpose over hesitation, and hope over everything that once tried to hold me down. And here you stand in the space between who you were and who you are becoming. The battle you thought would break you has only carved a deeper strength within you. The nights that swallowed you whole, the weight that threatened to silence you, none of it was the end of your story. You are not just surviving, you are rising, not because the road has been easy, but because something unshakable within you refuses to surrender. Because even in the breaking, God has been building. Even in the silence, He has been speaking. Even in the waiting, He has been working. So let the weight fall from your shoulders, the guilt of not being enough, the fear that you'll never move forward, the lie that you have to do this alone. None of it was ever yours to carry. Lift your eyes, take a breath. The road ahead is not just a path, it is a calling to step beyond the shadows of yesterday and into the light of a God who has never once left your side. And as you stand in this sacred moment on the edge of something only He can see, let's turn our hearts toward Him. Not with perfect words, not with rehearsed prayers, but with the raw, honest cry of a soul that refuses to walk away. Let's pray, not because we have to, but because deep down we know we cannot take another step without Him. O Lord, you see the weight we carry, the unseen burdens pressing against our hearts, the sorrows too deep for words. Some days grief feels like an ocean pulling us under, and disappointment settles so heavy within us that even the smallest step forward feels impossible. There are wounds that have not yet begun to heal, losses too great to make sense of, and betrayals that have left us questioning everything we once trusted. And yet even here, even in this place of unanswered questions and quiet pain, you are near. You do not ask us to be strong before we come to you. You do not require us to have all the answers before you step into our suffering. No, you meet us here, in the silence of our weary prayers, in the ache of our restless nights, in the exhaustion of simply trying to make it through one more day. You remind us that strength is not found in never breaking, but in holding on, even if all we can manage is a whisper of faith, a single breath, or the smallest act of surrender. Lord, it is easy to believe that hardship means you have turned away, that suffering is a sign of your absence, but you are not a distant God. You are not one who looks away when we hurt. No, you are here, in the pain, in the waiting, in the spaces where we feel forgotten. Even when we cannot feel you, you are holding us. Even when we are drowning in doubt, you remain steady. And though life feels fragile, though we wonder if we will ever be whole again, you are already at work, shaping something beautiful from the pieces we cannot yet see. Help us, Lord, to stop measuring our strength by the world's standards. Teach us that resilience is not about standing unshaken, but about choosing again and again to rise, to believe, to keep going, even when we are uncertain. Help us to see that even the smallest acts, getting out of bed, taking one more breath, lifting our eyes toward the sky, are proof that we are still here, still fighting, still being held by grace. And if we are still here, then you are not finished with us yet. God, we long for answers, for a life without struggle, for a path free of obstacles. But you remind us that growth does not come from ease. It is shaped in hardship, refined in the fire of trials, molded in the places where we are stretched beyond what we thought we could bear. The very battles we beg to escape are the very ones that transform us, and you do not waste them. You do not let suffering be in vain. You take the brokenness, the disappointments, the aching pieces of our story, and you craft something stronger, something deeper, something more beautiful than we could have ever imagined. So, Lord, give us the courage to release what we were never meant to carry alone. Help us to trust that even when we cannot see the way, you are guiding our steps. May we stop resenting the road that has brought us here and start believing that even in the struggle, there is purpose. Let us not fear the darkness, for it is not our prison. It is the very place where we learn to fight for the light. We will not let fear and hesitation keep us from the life you are calling us to. We will rise, not because we have all the answers, but because you are with us. And no matter how unsteady our steps, no matter how long the road ahead may seem, we will keep walking, one step, one breath, one prayer at a time, until the day we see the full beauty of what you have been creating all along. Amen.